to another week of Pop Culture Collision with me and Zach. Um, yeah, how you doing tonight, Zach?
I'm doing fantastic.
Yeah,
How about yourself?
I'm doing less so. So, as I had told you earlier, I had some car troubles. So, we're at the gas station getting gas. Car has been working just fine up to that point, and all of a sudden, just doesn't start. So I'm like, okay, I'll call someone who's nearby, who I know can jump it. Lo and behold, didn't work. Car has plenty of juice in the battery. So it turns out there's a lot bigger issues. So we got a tow truck called, which took about 15 minutes on the phone. And then we decided, you know what? Instead of waiting another 30 minutes to get one sent to us, let's just push it. So we ended up getting someone to push with their car, push mine all the way through the back roads to my parents' house. And
Wow.
these kids even saw us pass by three cars, one with me and the guy who came to help, the one guy pushing the car, and then my car being pushed. And these two kids just watched us all go by. They're like, "What in the world?" And we just pushed it all the way over, and now we'll just have to see if we can fix it. So, ah, what a night!
Yeah,
Yeah,
sounds like a bad time.
definitely. So yeah, uh, but we're gonna get to this podcast. The topic for this week is gonna be Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, following up on last week's Jurassic World, and we're also waiting in anticipation for Jurassic World Dominion, which comes out tomorrow. We'll be seeing it Saturday. Um, so yeah, just jumping in. What are your initial thoughts after rewatching it? Because I know I saw your review and you
Yeah,
liked it a little more.
yeah, and upon second watch, I enjoyed it a lot better than the first time I'd seen it. And as we get into talking about it, I hope we can see where the differences are between our two viewings.
Right, because me, I I liked it a little more than I did last time, but not enough for me to say that it's a good movie in my eyes. I think there's a lot of issues with it, but yeah, hopefully I'll hear your part, and
I will
maybe we
say
can, yeah.
I'll say right now that I do believe Fallen Kingdom is a better movie than the first Jurassic World.
Okay, okay. Um,
No, I said world, not
World,
park,
not park. Right, right. Yeah, I know.
but it is better. I believe it's better than the first Chris Pratt
Interesting.
Jurassic World
Yeah,
movie.
very interesting. Okay. Um, yeah. So jumping in, the movie itself actually made 417 million in the domestic box office. The international made 890 million, giving it a worldwide total of 1.3 billion dollars, which dropped from Jurassic World's 1.67 billion, but it's still pretty impressive. I mean, Jurassic World had so much hype going for it because it was the return of the franchise. So obviously, a sequel would do good, but maybe not as good. I'm not sure if that tracks with other franchises, but uh, the critics score is where it really fell because Jurassic World got about 75% between both critics and audiences on Rotten Tomatoes, but Fallen Kingdom dropped to about a 50%. Um, so critics really didn't like it. I think it's a little. I think that's a little bit low of a score in my eyes. I'd put it probably around 60%. I think
Well, I don't know about a percentage, but I ended
percentage.
up giving I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars, which I believe it was better than the first one, which I only
Hmm.
gave a 2.5. So
Right. So yeah, let's get into that. I guess we'll start off with the breakdown of the movie, going scene by scene, and we'll just see what our thoughts are on everything. So you want to kick us off?
I mean, we can start out by the biggest downfall of this movie is the lack of Jake Johnson
Oh, for
uh,
sure, for
and
sure.
Lowry's character. However, I do think that they have some newer characters that are pretty fun to do. Starting out though, they do have the underwater when they're underwater collecting the Indominus Rex.
Hmm.
about 3 to 4 years later, or after the first movie, and this scene has several big issues that I see with it.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
and the main one is why would they leave the gate open when they're leaving?
Right. Now, see, that actually, so what happens, what I noticed is that he starts this signal from his remote to shut the gate after he's like, I'm freaking out because the pod, they're not getting anything from them. And what really bugged me was that when the T-Rex steps on the remote to close the gate, uh the signal ends, and I don't know why it would end. I don't think that's how that would work. Like, does the remote have to? Is the remote just sending out a signal that suddenly just stops it? Does it have to be sending a constant signal? That's such a really that's a dumb system if it works that way.
Yeah, it seems like a really bad design for holding in such a large dinosaur.
For
Uh,
sure.
and again, they talked about this at the beginning. They were like, "It's been 3 to 4 years. Nothing over here is alive."
Yeah, which also
They
confuses
could have
me.
scanned.
Yeah,
They could have
especially
scanned.
because like later we learn who their bosses are, right? And
Yeah,
obviously their bosses know there's dinosaurs there. In fact, the whole world knows because you get that news report in the next scene.
yes.
Why do they think the dinosaurs aren't there? That is a huge oversight on their part. Like, who are these guys and why don't they know what the rest of the world knows? That there's stuff out there. That's
And
so weird to me.
and
Ugh.
they do it all for a tooth
Yeah, no, for I think something from the
or
Indominus Rex. Yeah, they get
or like a
a
tooth or a
rib,
piece of the
a
spine.
bone. Yeah, something like that. That's really all they did it for. Which okay, yeah, sure. um,
But
yeah,
which we can get into the
right.
reasons that happens. But I do want to talk about when he's dangling from the ladder on the helicopter, and the T Rex is like pulling it down, holding the helicopter down. How is it that the Mosasaurus didn't pull the helicopter down when
That's
it went
true.
up and chomped him?
I
Like,
remember. Yeah, I remember in the theater when I first saw that. I was like, "Oh, it's gonna pull the helicopter down." Nope, they're fine. I had that made no
it,
sense even on my
and I
first viewing.
guess it's also since the people in the submarine were the people that grabbed the part from the Indominus Rex. I guess they are just okay.
No, they got eaten.
They got eaten. Then
Yeah,
how did they
because
get the? Did they just toss it up to the
yeah,
helicopter?
no. What happens is they cut it off and it like gets put into some kind of balloon that floats to the top, and then they collect it before
Okay.
before they go to pick up their dude who for some reason can't hear the T-Rex, I guess, and also for some reason can't contact the helicopter. He's yelling to them. Why doesn't he have an earpiece connected to the helicopter? It's for the first scene. Sure, it works a little bit with putting some tension in there, but it's really dumb. It's
I agree that there are some really stupid things, but I believe this is a way better opening than the first movie. The first
yeah.
movie had a boring opening with the family going on to the ship and all that, and I just this one at least gets you right into the action, sets up a reasoning for something in the future. That's
Hmm.
why the opening of this movie does a lot better job than the opening of World.
That's interesting because I kind of like the opening of the first movie. Not the whole I don't know the family getting ready, but that opening shot where he opens the hotel doors and you can see the whole park and it's all its glory. I love that
Yeah.
shot. I
Yeah,
absolutely love it.
it's a nice cinematic view, but
Yeah,
as far as storytelling goes, I feel like this
it
one
is.
at least sets up something for the future, whereas the first one, my my nephews are here, is
Yeah,
the whole point of the first couple scenes.
right. Which I guess is kind of important to show, but like they aren't very important characters, especially because they're missing in this movie. um, but one other thing about the opening scene
Yeah.
is the design of the park is so stupid. If the Mosasaurus is connected to the open ocean, and the only thing keeping it from getting out is this gate. Like, has no one seen Free Willy? Free Willy jumped over a gate. The Mosasaurus could probably get it done or ram through it. I don't know.
Oh, easily. Well, you see it jump
Yeah,
however high it jumps in the first one to get
it
that
does.
shark. It easily can jump that gate.
It probably, yeah. If it had the willpower, I think he could do it. And you know what? I'm all for it. I want to see him do it. He could do it.
Well,
um,
I mean, he's still in the he's still out there,
he's
so
in the
maybe
third
he comes
movie.
back. Maybe he
Yeah,
comes back.
I would love to see him come. I think there's a shot in the trailer for the next one where he's jumping out and he's eating a cage of fish from like a fishing boat. And
Mm.
you know what? I'm excited to see him back. He's a cool dinosaur to have. Or I guess he's not a actual dinosaur. He's
I mean,
just from that period, but I don't care.
yeah, I mean, it's all right to have him, I guess, but his whole involvement in the final scene of the first movie just made me mad, so I'm
Yeah.
a little mad at him. So, but
Yeah,
we can
he's
move on if you
yeah,
move
we
on
can
to the
move
next
on. We
scenes
can move
here.
on. So, yeah, the next one is the news report, where we get revealed that the dinosaurs are in danger. Which this is another issue I have is that they built the park on an island with an active volcano.
Yeah.
Did they not know this would go off? Why put so much money into it? It's like, well, okay, if that disaster in the first movie didn't happen, the park
Yep.
would have to be shut down for good anyways. Like, it's so weird that this is suddenly a thing about the island.
The only thing that I could think is maybe they somehow had the tech since their technology in that universe is a lot better than our world. Maybe they had some form of technology to kind of quell it,
And then when they
and
left, it stopped
since they all
working.
left, there's no one there. Well, there's no one to maintain all that, so maybe it
Hmm.
just
You know that
that's
I
the only thing
yeah, that
that I can
actually
give
is
it.
that's something that actually happens in Horizon Zero Dawn in the DLC. There's like an AI that's controlling a volcano from erupting. Like, so that would make sense, but they never established that. So it just comes off as like a weird oversight by the Maserati Corporation for building Jurassic, and also for John Hammond for building it in the first place. Like, why has this become an issue only now? It's very
Right.
weird, but it works, especially later. I think it's a good plot device. It's just dumb. It creates some plot holes, but
Well, how about you touch up a little bit on our boy Jeff Goldblum, um,
yes,
because he
yes,
gets his appearance in this movie.
he does show up, and he brings back his good old theory about going too far with nature. You know, the theme of the first movie and really the whole series in
Yes.
general, where they're playing God and creating these creatures, and he's still the smartest character in all these movies. Honestly, he's the only one that's
I'm,
like, yeah, guys, stop, just let them die out, and that's like the big moral argument here. Even though I think this argument just kind of gets lost in the movie, they don't really
right.
push it too far. It's very simplistic. It's like, do the dinosaurs deserve rights like other animals or like humans, or do they not? And that's really as deep as it gets. Um,
I actually have a little bit of disagreement for that, but we need to
hmm,
touch on that a lot
right.
later on.
Yeah.
Um,
But anyways, yeah, you get set
but
up from him.
I will say, yeah, the big thing is the animal rights like debate.
Yeah,
And that kind of feeds into the next scene anyway, so we'll
it
kind of
does.
go into that as that Claire, she's brought back into the series, and she's a leader of an animal rights organization for the dinosaurs, and it brings up the two new characters, Franklin and Zia,
Hmm.
who I have to imagine they're what in their early 20s.
Yeah.
I have to imagine that they've probably lived most of their lives with dinosaurs being a thing.
Yeah.
So to them, it is a lot different than to the older generation who are they grew up not knowing dinosaurs could be alive, and then miraculously dinosaurs were brought back. whereas to
Hmm.
them there were almost always dinosaurs.
Right. So yeah, they all get introduced. Now Claire is running the dinosaur activists or whatever. I don't remember the name for it. I didn't write it down. I don't
I'm
even know
gonna
if it
call
has
it
a name.
PETA. It's PETA for
PETA for
dinosaurs.
dinosaurs. Okay. Yeah. Um, we
That's
can
not what it's called, but that's what it is.
yeah we can probably talk about Claire later because I have some issue with this turn in her character, but I think
Mm.
it makes sense enough sense that she goes this way. It just seems a little sudden to me that she did a 180 from the first movie. But I guess the first movie did set up that she sees them more as animals instead of just creations in the lab. Uh,
Well, like, we can actually touch up a little bit on this right now because I think a lot of that has to do with she does still go on a little bit to being with Owen, and Owen obviously raised Blue, so
right.
Owen knows that these are actually they're animals and they can
Mm-hmm.
learn compassion, as later shown. Blue has learned some compassion and stuff like that. And after seeing that Blue and the T Rex actually helped her at the end of the first movie, you could probably see reasons why that can happen. And
Mm-hmm.
also, she's kind of responsible for a lot of all of these dinosaurs existing to begin with because
Right.
she was the head of the park,
Yeah.
kind of. She
And
was the head of the park, kind of.
kind of, yeah. And she was also like just in charge of a lot of the Indominus Rex. I mean, not creating it, but overseeing it being made. So
Yeah.
she probably has some guilt over that, uh, obviously. um, but yeah, so now she's doing this. We have Franklin and Zaya. Um, we'll talk about my thoughts on Franklin later. um, I don't like him that
Mm-hmm.
much. Uh,
Oh, we're gonna have a fight,
yeah,
bro.
we will, but we'll save
Uh,
that.
but so she gets the phone call. Eli's called her to the Lockwood estate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you think of him, this new guy being included with John Hammond? It's like, oh, there was another business partner. What's your thoughts on that?
It would make sense because they have their little Lockwood and Hammond have their little dispute,
Yeah.
and they kind of branch away from each other. That Lockwood would have somebody else come in later on. So honestly, it makes a little bit of sense, and it's obvious that Eli hasn't always been there to me. At least
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't seem like he's always been there. He's kind of maybe not
Yeah.
super new, but he is new, but not like
Right.
as new.
I'm a little confused about how connected those two are because he seems to know a lot about Lockwood that we don't get to know
Yeah,
until later, but it's never explained how they're connected or how important he is. I guess I mean he deals with a lot of stuff for him, but he's not a son. He's not an heir. It's
yeah.
weird. He's
But
he's fine though.
I do think this first meeting is honestly pretty good
Yeah,
when it comes up to setting up this fake like sanctuary island, which is a interesting topic in and of itself. If you're
that
gonna have
is.
dinosaurs, maybe just put them on an island by themselves.
Yeah, yeah. Which I funny enough, I have an issue with this.
Hmm.
So in that scene, they name drop Isla Sorna, which is where Jurassic Park: The Lost World takes place, and I believe Jurassic Park 3 takes place. There's facilities there. There's a lot of facilities. I think there's even dinosaurs there, but don't quote me on that. But it's interesting that they're not moving them to Sorna or any of the other islands in there because you learn in the Jurassic World Evolution game there's like 5 islands. Um, so it's kind of weird. Like I know that it's a ruse to get them to come with them, but why not take them to somewhere other than Lockwood's estate later in the movie? It's very I mean, yeah, I guess they have a whole facility made for them, but
Yeah.
you'd think they could just move them to a facility on the other islands. It's a little weird.
Well, I think part of that probably comes to the reason why the labs are down there,
Hmm.
and I feel like a big reason it's the big quote unquote twist of the movie, but Lockwood wanted a lab down there for a certain reason
Yeah.
that was much more legally troubling than creating dinosaurs.
Right. So it's kind of like a hidden place that they can easily take them for black market
Yeah.
dealings. So yeah, I get it, but it's weird that they wouldn't use an existing island and they're just using another one. It
Well,
didn't really. I don't know.
the other reason that I think that maybe is that if Claire was a part of the entire Jurassic World like foundation, she was a part of it. Would she know about those islands? And probably. And maybe those islands are no longer actually usable.
Right. Yeah. So that is a good point. It's a small nitpick to be fair, but I thought it was interesting that they name dropped Sorna and they didn't really give an explanation for why they couldn't be used. So obviously nitpick, not a really big issue, but um yeah.
Then
Uh
the last thing I do want to say real quick that I did enjoy the line here because Lockwood did have a decent line. He says, "The dinosaurs don't need our protection; they need our absence."
mhm.
Um, which I do enjoy that just simply because that kind of shows that Lockwood
He does care.
doesn't he does care about the dinosaurs. He also doesn't think humans should be involved really at all. So
Which is what Hammond ends up doing in the second movie. That's actually his line from The Lost World. You get
oh
like an opening from him saying that, which yeah. So it's neat that they bring that back, kind of an homage to him because I think the actor died uh pretty early on, not long after the first movie. So
yeah.
yeah. So next scene, we get Owen back,
Oh
right?
boy, yes we do. Why is he building a
Why
house?
is he building a house? I guess because she broke up with him for just living in a van. So he's like, I got to build a house now.
And then that's another thing. They break up. They break
Again.
up off screen, and then she comes in asking him for help in the same exact way.
Yep. Yep.
It is a an exact replica
Mm-hmm.
of the two scenes. She comes to his house. She asks him for help.
He
He
says
says
no.
he says no, and then comes back later and helps anyway.
Yep. Yep.
Like it's that was very frustrating. As how they
Definitely.
bring him back into the movie is ridiculous to me. Um, and then if you think about it, she also guilt trips him.
Mm-hmm.
That's how she does. How she does it in this one is she fully guilt trips him.
She does.
She's
Like
like,
he's
"Oh, you raised Blue, blah 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 blah," and then got him to looking at old home videos. I guess he
yeah,
has.
he's has him. Yeah. It's it's pretty low. It's like, okay, I guess sure, but he's got a point. Like, let nature take its course with him. It's, I mean, he's not wrong, but I guess he
Yeah,
could care a little more about Blue. But it's not like, I don't know. Blue is still a Velociraptor. I
yeah.
still it can't really look at a raptor and trust it. I as much as these movies try, no.
Well, plus
Yeah,
again, we brought up the point of Jeff Goldblum. Well, brain fart. I forgot his character's name.
Ian
Of Ian
Malcolm.
Malcolm.
Yeah,
Yeah, we of his whole point of talking about them. Maybe Owen agrees with that. Maybe he
yeah,
doesn't want to interfere because obviously there's going to be an issue.
yeah. So, just you think he's better in this movie, or I guess we can get to that later. But yeah,
I
it's
mean, I feel like he's a lot more loose and open.
yeah.
He's a lot less serious, and I think the same with Claire.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Especially during that bar, she's like bar scene. She's got this giddy laughter, and he's got this try a little banter going on
And
that
yeah, that was
gives it
fun.
a touch of comedic. undertones that
Right.
the first movie was severely lacking outside
Yeah.
of Lowry.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Right. So, yeah, I like him better in this one, and later on there's some scenes from him I really like.
right.
But I think my issue still stands with him where he's like he's building a house now. Come on, he's good at everything. uh, anyways,
Yeah.
hmm,
So then they get on the plane, they fly over. Um, there's not a whole lot on the plane side of things, like when they're
no, but they
getting
do
everybody
meet
ready.
Wheatley, or as I like to call him, Leland Stottlemyre
Yeah.
from Monk. Uh,
Yeah.
which
They meet
I
Wheatley.
forgot he was in here because he doesn't have his mustache.
Um,
Yeah,
and he kind of plays it pretty well
he does.
as you going into it, you're not going to assume there's going to be a double cross
I mean, yeah,
because
not really.
you should,
You should.
but but it could just be that they get trapped on the island and they have to escape. We don't know exactly where the plot is going to take it right off
Right.
the beginning. Um,
Hmm.
but he gets introduced, and then this is where you said you don't like Franklin's character. This is where I loved Franklin's character the
Oh yeah.
most. Um, is because he's like he's big and nervous. He's kind of a relatable guy, and then he's like he's spraying himself with the bug spray,
Hmm.
and he offers it to um Owen, and Owen says some like really jockey, really cool stuff, and he's like, "Nope, we're not compatible." I just he brings humor into it,
Hmm.
and I think throughout the movie, he definitely shows that he is more than just a comedic relief, but he's definitely one of the biggest comedic relief characters in the movie.
He is, which is oddly enough why I dislike him. I just, I don't know. I've seen Justice Smith in other movies, and he seems to play the same character a lot, where he's just kind of the nerd, the wimpy nerd.
Yeah,
He does
a
that in
lot of
Detective
characters are
Pikachu. Um,
archetype.
yeah, so it's like I guess I just don't like his character type. Like, sure, it's good for a laugh, but beyond that, I don't like him as much as Lowry. I feel like I would have liked him in this movie instead. Which I mean, it's Jake
Hey,
Johnson, so I think we can agree on that. But
not everybody can be Jake Johnson.
not everyone can be Jake Johnson, so I guess he's fine. He's not a Jar Jar by any means, but he doesn't do anything for me. I didn't really laugh. I probably did the first time I saw it, but on the second viewing, I already
We get
eh,
we can get more into him later,
right,
like when we break down all the characters. But also around the same time, this scene kind of took place around the same time as the introduction to Maisie.
right,
So we can talk about her real quick, or
yeah.
her introductory scene.
Yeah, she gets an introduction where it's like a fake out, like, oh, there's something in the dinosaur room, and it's just her, which, funny enough, is foreshadowing to
It's
a
all
later plot point.
foreshadowing.
It's some good foreshadowing. I'll give the movie that,
That
despite the
we'll
twist,
get
I think being bad.
we'll get to yeah.
We'll get to
His
it.
foreshadowing is really good in this
Foreshadow,
scene
yeah.
with both the that like little scene there where she scares Iris, but also when she is talking to Lockwood and she sees the book, and
Hmm.
that's another thing. Like this book is important to him, and it has like you can't see the picture, but there's
There's
a
something she
piece
needs
of
to
paper or
see.
something that she wants to see in there.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
I think
and
it all works
uh,
pretty well together for her introduction into the story,
yeah.
um, fairly decently.
Yeah. And one little note I made was when when she finds Maisie, she says like bath or bath. It's like it was
Oh
so,
yes,
it was
I
so
forgot
funny.
about this.
I liked
Yeah,
that.
why like she's correcting her.
For
It's
saying
like it brought me
bath.
back. It's Leviosa.
Yeah, that's what I was reminded of. But
But
yeah, I like Maisie. I think she worked well, better than
yeah,
Zach and Gray for sure. I think she
yeah,
has more
sir.
character.
Also, her introduction
Is better.
is also better.
Oh yeah,
I
you
don't
get
think Zack and Gray had a good introduction in the movie or
no
reason for being in the movie at all.
right.
So,
So yeah, so that you get that. That's all foreshadowing. So
uh,
the next scene, uh, we're
uh,
back. We're back
yeah,
to
we get
Isla
back to
Nublar.
Isla Nublar.
Yeah,
Um, well, I noticed right off the bat. Here's the one of the big things that I noticed in this were when they're all in the armored vehicle and they start hearing things outside. Why would Zia
run out.
immediately run out?
I think she saw what it was. Well, no one else could for some reason, but also like, how'd she get all the way out without someone grabbing her?
Yeah,
Because she was pretty far back in the truck, and
for
not really
sure.
close to the door. So yeah, it was kind of dumb on her part, but I guess she could have seen it. But it is cool to see the Brachiosaurus showing up again. Uh,
Right.
the CGI looks gorgeous for the dinosaurs in this movie.
Yes,
It's
I
good.
enjoy it.
Yeah,
But then there are dinosaurs everywhere.
dinosaurs
They're
everywhere.
the
Oh,
there's those little like I don't know
the
what they're called.
compies. I think they're just
The little
compies.
ones.
Yeah.
But then they should have known because they're the same people that sent that one party out.
Yep.
They should know that the T Rex is roaming
Loose.
around
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
loose.
They should
So
be a
they
little more
should have
careful.
had the civilians a little bit more like close to, closely
Yeah.
held. Like
Closely guarded.
Claire, Zia,
And
and Franklin
Franklin.
should have been
Yeah.
like stuck in that vehicle the entire
Yeah.
time.
For sure. For sure. I'm also kind of confused because this is where they go to the control room and they get the tracker set up. But they make a note in the movie. They're like, "Oh, you guys are already sending teams out." He's like, "Oh yeah, we had everything but for blue." I'm confused. If they already know where most of them are, I get why they need blue, but why did they specifically need Claire to turn the system on if they're already after the targets they want?
Well, my thought is it's a failsafe. If they bring Claire over, since they're planning on double crossing her,
Right.
maybe they bring her there to kill her because they do lock her into that room
That's true.
at the when they leave. So, but I do want to touch up on this is the part where I think Franklin and Zia start to really shine
Mm-hmm.
because because Wheatley is like giving them shit,
Mm-hmm.
and they both go like Franklin immediately like hacks into that room,
Right.
like gives a cool one liner, and then Zia's like grabs the medicine out of him. He said, "This if you give them more than one of these, they could kill the dinosaur." Blah blah blah. So she said demanded that she goes with him to be able to keep track. Like they both kind of put him into his place, which I kind of
They do.
love. Um, and like that's part of the reason I love these two new characters is because they're not like
they have a purpose to be there.
yeah, and like Zach and Gray, they didn't have any real reason to be there. Like these two showed that they had their worth for the team
Mm-hmm.
pretty early on into this mission. So
Right.
that's part of the reason why I like them a little bit more than
Then the characters in the last one. Yeah.
yes.
That's a good point. But yeah, the double cross happens. They end up shooting really early, which nearly jeopardizes their mission. I thought who had the itchy trigger finger because they just about killed Blue because of this.
They
Like,
about killed Blue. They got a person killed in
yeah,
addition to that.
and then they
But
give away their operation completely. Like, I know
yeah,
they're gonna have to double cross them at some point, but man, they just immediately shoot him, and then they're about to shoot Zia, but then she
yeah,
makes
she's quick
herself
thinking
useful.
there.
She is quick thinking, that's for sure.
Quick thing. But so I want to throw out. They shoot. Keep in mind, they shoot both Blue and Owen with the same type of tranquilizer
Yes.
dart. She says, "Hold on, I could be useful. Like I'm gonna heal the animal. I'm gonna heal Blue." So they keep him, but then she leaves him there.
She leaves Owen. Yeah, I
She
get.
fully leaves Owen there.
Yeah, I guess she really couldn't do much. So she's thinking like, oh well, maybe if I can live. But yeah,
Right.
it's interesting. She could have tried to be like, hey, we're gonna need him because he knows Blue. You guys don't. He can control her. That would have
Yeah.
been smart. But no, she just leaves him.
So this gets into what I would call the next scene comes up, and this is what I would call probably one of the coolest scenes,
Hmm.
but also the one of the scenes that I have the most problems with.
Really? Is this where he's crawling away from the lava?
I have so many problems with this scene, starting with the Triceratops'
Licking
gross
him.
tongue. It's disgusting,
Yeah.
but the main reason I have the issue, and that's why I brought up that they both got hit by the same tranquilizer dart. How is it that he's able to get up
Get up
and move at
already.
all? He's moving away from the lava, and then minutes later is in a
He's
full
running.
sprint
Yeah.
at the same speed as that hamster ball.
I mean, Blue did get shot with it 4 or 5 times and then got a bullet. So there's that. But yeah, a tranquilizer meant for a dinosaur.
Well, Zia said in the previous scene that like too many of those would kill the dinosaur,
Yeah.
and she said it as if it was like one or two.
Could
Like
knock it
she
out.
pulled out one, like one would knock it out, and more than that might kill it. So how
Yeah.
is it that Owen is able to get up at all?
Yeah, that's a good point. Because
The
I
I
think the scene looks real cool. But
Yeah,
yeah. Um, it
and
is
then
a
like I said,
little weird.
he's like flipping around, flipping over that log, and then next time we see him, he's able to run at full speed like it's nothing.
Hmm.
But and then during the scene, we also have the Franklin and Claire trapped inside the room.
And I think that's
That's
a good scene
filling with lava. Oh yeah, I love this
with
scene.
the baryonyx or baryonyx, I think is what it's called. Yeah, baryonyx.
Uh, Dinosaur names are tough.
I think. Yep, baryonyx. It's like a mid-sized carnivore.
Yeah,
Yeah, closely
but
related to
then
the Spinosaurus.
they climb up there, and as soon as they get out, they also have the enough strength to push down the dinosaur, which I don't actually think would happen. I don't think they
No,
have that
no.
strength.
Also,
But
also when the ladder falls, he just kind of like turns around, like, dude, start climbing. Come on, why are you turning around?
yeah, but that's for dramatic effect. I
Yeah,
understand
yeah,
that.
and it
Um,
works. It works.
but then they get back. I'm gonna continue to call it a hamster ball because that's my preferred name for it.
Yeah,
They get that hamster ball. Why does Owen not get in as soon as possible?
yeah, because that suddenly that carnivore, I don't remember that thing's name. It's like for some reason is not running away like everyone else, and it's like, ooh, look, food. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
dude,
and
get your
they
priorities straight.
miraculously get saved at the last second,
Mm-hmm.
but it keeps like Owen his and then he's getting frustrated. Owen doesn't get into the ball, which is stupid, but they also don't decide to leave when they could have. They get miraculously saved by a T Rex for no reason.
And the T Rex doesn't go for them immediately after that. It's like, oh, I should run
Yeah.
away now.
And then, in addition to all this, how is the hamster ball like charged? How does it have gas? How does it work
How's it? Yeah,
still?
yeah, that
It's been
is.
3 to 4 years since
Mm-hmm.
the park has been closed.
And it just
It
happened to be
was
right there.
happened
Yeah,
to be there and happens to be working.
it's definitely
And
not Zach and Gray's because that was
no, that one was
crushed.
destroyed.
So why was it just out there? Was there someone who it wasn't because they evacuate that
And
area of the
yeah,
park, so they would
in
have
the
called
first
all of
one
them
they had
back.
everybody come in, and in
Yeah,
fact, there's the scene where Lowry says all of them are back except for the one.
except for the one which gets destroyed. So why is
So
this ball out here?
Did were the dinosaurs playing with it like a cat?
It's possible. It's possible that they moved it into
Oh,
this one spot behind these trees that protects it.
yeah.
Very
So
convenient.
everything was it had so many problems with it, and then he's able to, like I said, Owen's able to keep up with it,
Yeah.
and then they fall into the water.
At this point, I think the scene becomes good because you get this single shot of them stuck inside and it's filling with water and he's getting them out.
Hmm.
I think it's really well shot. Like,
Except,
mm,
hold on,
except
he shoots it. That does nothing. So he swims up, grabs a knife. How's the knife work?
I think the knife is to get it off its track and open the door. I think it's
Right.
good enough because I mean I do that with my door if it's stuck,
See,
you know, you stick it in there, break the
and
seal.
I understand all that. So they're underwater. They get saved. Um, and they all swim up.
Yeah.
That's all fine and dandy. But you had to be like keen eared here to hear it. But Franklin is the person that says they double crossed us and Zia got taken. Not Owen. It comes from Franklin's mouth.
How
How did Franklin know?
that's a good point. I didn't catch that.
Because I replayed the scene a few times. It is not, at the very least, it is not Chris Pratt's voice.
Right.
And there's only one other male in the group, and it sounded like Franklin's voice. So
Mm-hmm.
how did he know that Zia was taken and that they got double crossed? It makes no sense.
Yeah. Um. So let's speed up a little bit here. They get on the boat, which I think it's everyone on the boat must be blind. They didn't see them ramp into the boat. They didn't
Yeah.
look who was in the truck. And then
Yep.
because she put on a hat, no one noticed it was Claire, the person they're double cross.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so stupid. These guards are horrible.
Big dumb. They're big dumb.
Big dumb. But then you get the Brontosaurus. Um very sad.
Yes.
It
I
works.
actually wanted to bring up the Brontosaurus
Hmm.
though. Or Brachiosaurus, I think is what
Brachiosaurus.
it is.
I think
I,
it's I don't know which one it is. It's
uh,
one or the
but
other.
apparently the um the director of the movie, J.A. Bayona,
J. A. Bayona,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, she had confirmed that this is actually the Brachiosaurus um that Alan Grant saw in the first movie, the very first one that they see.
Really?
That is a now that is from a I'm not exactly sure the full source of it because I got it from the fandom website, but the fandom website usually doesn't lie too bad. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, the director had said that was supposed to be that dinosaur, so that was a cool one.
Right. So yeah,
Um,
that seems quite good. But then
yeah, that we can skip. We can go real quick past that one because that's all that really happens in that
yeah,
scene.
I don't think
Um,
there's much else to
except
talk
for
about
how
there.
dangerous it is them loading up the boat and everything like that.
Yeah.
But then we get introduced to Mr. Eversol.
Yep. Toby Jones,
Uh,
good old Zola
yeah,
from Marvel.
yeah, and they talk about selling the dinosaurs and making them as weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Again.
Again.
Again. And they do it out in the open,
Yep.
knowing that Iris or Maisie could catch them and hear them.
Yeah.
Yet they talk about it in the middle of the museum
Very loudly.
very loudly. That seems like a big. At the very least, it's a big plunder for Eli.
Also,
I think.
why is he putting such a time crunch on him? These are dinosaurs, the last living ones, apparently.
Mhm.
Why is there such a time crunch? Is there a shortage of black market buyers for dinosaurs? Like,
I
I'm
I think that
confused.
the time crunch is probably due to the fact that they needed to make a movie, so they
Yeah, they wanted to create some tension. Fair
yeah.
enough. But I think it's dumb. I think a lot of the auction stuff will get to that, but
Yeah,
it's
we'll get to it.
not good.
Not too long here. But obviously uh Maisie overhears and she tells her grandpa
He's like, ah, no, go to bed. I don't care.
uh yeah, so he doesn't believe it at first, but we'll get into it later because she I guess he does come around to believing her.
Yeah, I think
Uh
he didn't really know what to do. It was late. He's like, hey, I'll deal with this. Don't worry about it. He didn't want to scare her. I'm sure he would believe she wouldn't make that up, but
yeah.
yeah, he should have done something a little earlier. But
So
yeah,
we get into go back to the ship
mm-hmm.
and they're trying to get the T-Rex blood to heal Blue.
Yep,
Um I don't know how Zia is an expert. I get that she's like a trained medical professional, but how is she an expert on dinosaurs all of a sudden?
yeah. And how did
Considering she's never seen one.
right? And how did they expect to have this work? I mean, humans have so many different blood types, and if you put the wrong one in someone, it could kill them, or it could do anything.
Well, to be fair, these were all made in a test tube.
That is fair.
They're all
Yeah,
clones, so they might all have the
they might
same
have
blood.
similar blood types.
Who
Yeah,
knows?
but it's
But
risky, and
but they
she
they did specifically say a carnivore. It has to be a carnivore of
with
this
three.
type.
Yeah, with this type, it's like okay, sure, that's some
My
questionable
only
science.
yeah, but my biggest problem with this scene is the fact that when they're in the T-Rex's chamber, that T-Rex wakes up and it starts clawing the metal,
It
and the
does.
metal is destroyed. If that was happening, that dinosaur easily gets out of there
Yeah,
in the middle of that. Like,
and no one bats an eye. They don't get
and no
caught.
one, yeah, no one looks. They
I
don't get
thought they would
caught.
get. I really thought they'd get caught here, but no,
Well, no, they
they're
get caught in a
fine.
much dumber way.
Yeah, and
Um,
ah, but
and then
it's
in
fine.
addition, they also have yet again. I brought this up in the first one. Luckily, this is the only time in the movie I believe it happens. They have the eye opening scene
Yep,
with the
yep,
close up of the eye and it opens up.
yep.
Um, but other than that, they managed to get the blood, get it back, remove the bullet,
Hmm.
and
And while that's going on, you have Maisie going to the basement and coming across an open video of Owen for some reason, just kind of there, which
I guess it was a part of their research, but
it
at the
was.
same time, you feel like that would be like some of the beginning research, not
Yeah,
where they're at the end game.
and it's just right there
Um,
for her to see, and it's important for her to see because then she trusts Owen later. It's
but I
real
also
convenient. Yeah,
I have a hard time believing that she's never been in that basement.
yeah.
She's lived there her whole life, and there's a cool ass basement,
Hmm.
and she's not gonna go down there.
I'm sure they locked it off from her
Right?
because of the plot twist about her.
Yeah.
But she's a kid. She definitely would have found her way in there at some point.
Uh,
I don't know. Maybe not
and
though.
then Doctor Wu gets brought up in this scene as well.
He does.
He's brought back, which isn't surprising to anybody, but
No.
you'd think that he'd have a bit of a well. You know what I did in the last movie was I made a dinosaur that was too powerful.
Now I'm
Um,
doing it again, but we need blue specifically.
yeah. So he's like, you know what I need? I just need more raptor.
More
Just put
raptor.
more raptor in it.
And his reasoning is real weird. He's like, "Oh, it needs a mother." It's like, okay,
Which,
I
okay,
guess.
if you base it on the on what Owen was doing and like made Blue compassionate, it that makes a lot of sense. The Indoraptor, the Indominus Rex didn't have anything,
Yeah.
and Owen brought it up. The only relationship it has was with that claw that feeds it.
Mm-hmm.
So for that to come back into play, I think that's actually pretty decent. Doctor Wu's like, this didn't work out for me last time. This Indoraptor needs something
Which is why
that it
I
that
guess that's why they need
bond.
blue then. I had assumed that they needed DNA from Blue because she's like super smart, but they already have an Indoraptor there that's like a prototype, I guess. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's fine, I
And then,
guess.
so actually, I wrote this. I'm gonna throw the plot twist we've been dancing around for this
Hmm.
pretty old movie. Maisie is a clone, and I put on here. Is it possible that Doctor Wu is the person that created this clone?
That is possible. I could
Because
see that,
it
I guess.
it could have been Lockwood himself, but how long has Doctor Wu been working with Lockwood? How long has Doctor Wu had this like lab down here? And did could he have been the person that created Maisie? So he would have already known a lot of this stuff going on with Eli.
Right. That's good. That's a good point. It's possible. Um, yeah. I don't know. I I don't know if his field would go into human cloning, which I have issue with that existing in this
Yeah,
series, but we'll get to that. I want to save that for afterwards. Um,
yeah. Um,
so they get captured, which
Jesus. Yeah, the
which is
leaving the
so
ship.
dumb.
This is so they get back into a car randomly, and they get captured. Not like they don't get checked up. They just that guy like hits the side of the door, and
Yeah,
then
and
they
then he
start
like
driving.
catches a glimpse of them. Why did this
Yeah,
guy and no one else in the other times where they've been very obvious in
exactly.
plain
Yeah,
sight? This guy just catches a glimpse of them. He's like, "Oh, that's them." And he was he even on the island, or is he just a guard at the house? Yeah, it's so
yeah.
it's weird.
It's ridiculous. But they get captured, and they talk to Eli, and Eli has the pretty decent point. They're both him and Claire were creating a dinosaur for money.
Mm-hmm.
They're not that different. They oversaw the creations of extremely powerful dinosaurs for monetary gain.
Yeah,
So I don't know if she can actually act like she has like a one up in morality against Eli.
yeah. But really, all she was
Because
doing was controlling the part. She didn't really create anything.
well,
So
no, but she did oversee it. Like she
that's true.
knew what she was wanting to do. She went with Maserani's plan. She
Mm-hmm.
oversaw Doctor Wu's research and had him to make this dinosaur. So they're not too different. Like I don't think Eli's out there actually making a dinosaur either.
No, no, that's fair.
It's Doctor Wu. He's just
Now, I do find it weird that they keep them alive. I don't know why they are. Like I guess maybe they don't want to murder, but they do murder. They were going to leave them on the island, and he even says, for all intents and purposes, they died on the island. So why did they just leave them in a cage unattended? It's
well,
like the classic like villain thing to
yeah.
do.
But I mean, he also definitely murders because in
He
this
does.
very next scene, he kills Lockwood.
Yep. He's like, oh,
Um,
we've both done things. It's like, all right, evil villain time. Uh oh.
so yeah, he gets Lockwood gets killed, and then they have the auction set up. Maisie gets capped. I forgot about Maisie gets thrown into her bedroom.
She
Uh,
does.
which my favorite part about that was when she this old key that she pulls, like she pushes out. How old is this house that they
That
have
it
keys
locks
like
and
that that
it locks
actually
from the
work?
outside too. Like
Yeah,
it's oh, I guess a house is pretty old. It's an
yeah,
estate.
but
It's
but
mansion.
then I like that they bring up this roof path because that roof path
Yeah,
does come back later.
it does.
Um, and she finds her grandpa.
Rip.
She takes, yep, she takes the book and she runs into the dumbwaiter, which that was gonna happen. That makes sense.
Yeah,
But then she sees her mom's picture, and it's like a one for one, which is just more foreshadowing.
yeah.
Which
But it
I
seems like at this point she figures out like because she starts crying about it. I guess maybe it's because of her
well,
grandpa.
it's well, yeah. Her grandpa just died, and she hasn't known what her mom looks like in the last 10 years. She doesn't
Yeah,
know. So I don't know if she looks at it and like, oh, we look exactly the same, because that a lot of parents
They do. A
parent
lot of parents look similar, so
yeah. So
but I kind of took it as if she figured out from the picture, but that doesn't make too much
well,
sense.
I know why when they get tell her she's like has like almost a panic attack.
Yeah.
Uh, so I think that is when she figures it out.
Okay. That's fair.
But that's during like the auction setup. We get to meet some of the auction people, but then the auction starts.
Oh boy.
Um, yeah, you want to take it off?
Yeah. Um they're selling the dinosaurs for criminally low prices. They're playing in the tens of millions. I imagine these would be worth a lot more. The park probably made more than they made in that night of auctioning. Like, I don't know what the
Right.
first one they bring out makes 10 million. Excuse me. You can
Well,
buy
that wasn't
cars for more than that.
that that was an herbivore,
That was sure, but it's
and
still a
everybody was
dinosaur.
wanting carnivores.
Yeah, but either way, I'm sure there's endangered species that go for that much. These are dinosaurs that are far more endangered than many of the ones we have, and they're ones that don't require complex genetics to bring back. Uh,
Yeah.
I think they did way too low on what prices they showed. Um, and I can't really Google to see if that's correct because that's not something I should type into Google. Oh, what's the black market on animals?
Yeah.
um,
Well, yeah, they go for pretty low, I
they go for
guess.
very
But
low.
my biggest problem with the scene was when they bring up the Indoraptor,
Mm,
uh, and he just like points the laser
he
towards a
does.
potential buyer, and he's like, "That's hilarious."
That's really funny.
And
And
then
then
everybody's going in their bidding,
yeah,
and Doctor Wu is big mad, which he should
Big
be.
Matt. Yeah,
But
that's
at the
fair.
same time, why did they show off the Indoraptor at all?
Yeah, and
Because
also
he knew people are gonna want to buy it, and he
yeah,
made the dumb decision to let people auction on it.
and then he makes the point later. He's like, they're just going to make more of them like this. Like they would do that with the finished one as well.
Yeah,
So what's the finished Indoraptor supposed to be? Is it supposed to be caring,
obedient probably,
obedient? But
obedient to
but
humans.
if they're buying it, then it's just obedient for a different faction, a different army. I don't know. His
The thing is,
reason for
I
being
don't know
mad.
if how obedient because it only listens if the laser and the
Yeah,
sound is happening.
which seems pretty obedient. I don't know if you can do much more than that. I guess Blue is more obedient, but only
Blue's
really to
much,
Owen.
yeah, but if they domesticate them like they did dogs,
Yeah,
it would probably
it would
it would
probably
have to be
work.
over a long period of time, but eventually it would work.
But I don't think any of those people there are trying to get pet dinosaurs. To be
No,
fair.
I think they just wanted weapons.
Yeah.
But then we get I actually really enjoy this scene where Owen is whistling at the door
Yeah.
for the headbutt dinosaur
Yeah.
or the Pachycephala
Soria.
Cephalosaurus Sauria? Yeah, the headbutt dinosaur.
The headbutt
I
dinosaur.
actually really like that scene where he's getting the headbutt dinosaur to do what he wants, but then
Mm-hmm.
he then like unleashes the dinosaur on a group of maybe not innocent people, but
But
a
it's
group of
murder. It's
civilians
definitely murder.
that's
In the
probably definitely killing
At
people.
least in the second or third degree. Yeah.
It's lunar narrative dissidence at its best,
Yeah.
where it's basically he's controlling the game and
Yeah.
he's not a hero all of a sudden.
No. It's like, and it also goes against the theme of the movie where they're like, oh, we need to save these dinosaurs. Ah, screw these guys. Set the dinosaurs off on them. Like, yeah, I get it. They're evil, but so is murdering them
Well, to
with a
be fair,
dinosaur.
it was a herb. I'm pretty sure the headbutt dinosaur is a herbivore.
Yeah, but it
So
also
all it's doing
headbutts
is
into you.
headbutting. But you see one guy like fly 10
Yeah,
feet up in the air.
he's dead. He's definitely
Like
dead.
that dude's dead. Uh, but then you get the scene of Owen running through and like
Knocking
one
people
hitting
down.
every
Yep,
single
yep.
person down.
And he stops
Um,
the Indoraptor from getting put away, and I don't know why. Why? I well, What was he gonna
because
do?
I don't know, but the main thing is, yeah, he leaves it there, but why did he leave?
Yeah,
He leaves
why?
in the middle of the auction hall and then he dips.
Why not get a gun and shoot the thing down? Like, oh, you don't
Exactly.
want to
There was
kill.
a gun on the
You
floor
need to
from
kill it.
several of the guards you beat the hell out of.
Yeah, just get rid of the Indoraptor now. You know it's probably gonna get out somehow. You know this thing is
So,
dangerous.
yeah. So then we get the scene of all of the people running away and Wheatley just sitting there, just standing there doing nothing. He's just watching it go down.
Hmm.
So I'm sure you have a lot to talk about for
Oh
how the Indoraptor gets out of
yeah.
the cage. So you go right ahead.
So yeah, we forgot to touch on this, but earlier when they're loading the boat, it's shown that Wheatley likes dinosaur teeth. Like, okay,
Yeah, yeah,
interesting. That's foreshadowing for him wanting the tooth from the Indoraptor. So he shoots it twice, which seemingly knocks it out, even though it took more than two to take down Blue, a significantly smaller dinosaur. And
yeah.
then he enters the cage, tries to get its tooth, and actually, I really like. You see it smile. At least I thought it
Oh,
smiled
dude. Yeah, no,
when
yeah,
he's
I
faking it.
totally agree because it was playing with him the whole
It
time.
was, which it shows how smart it is. Like it knows to fake out, and somehow it knows that he's gonna come in. I guess, which is pretty smart on its
Yeah.
end. But why, Wheatley? Why are you so stupid? Because obviously it bites his arm off, eats him, and then goes and gets in the elevator. Which uh,
That
I
scene was also silly.
it was silly
I
because then
ridiculous.
it almost seems like the Indoraptor took the elevator ride down after that. Because then it ends up on the floor below, and I
Yeah.
wrote in my notes like I just imagine the Indoraptor just like all right, tink, it goes
Well,
down.
it's not really in the thing below it. I think it went up,
Did it go up?
right?
Maybe.
Because they get to the museum.
Right.
It's in the
Okay.
museum, like hunting or just kind of walking around, and that's where Claire, Maisie, and um, Owen are there. Which we forgot to click on this earlier. When Owen and Claire escape their jail cell and they meet Maisie for the first time, Maisie goes from an American accent to heavy English accent because she's like in a panic English accent randomly. Like
Yeah.
she wasn't very English up until that point where she's
Right.
like super English all of a sudden. Um,
Which I think makes kind of
I
makes
just think it's
sense.
funny. I think
Yeah.
it's hilarious.
Kind of like with Scarlet Witch in the MCU. Whenever she's angry, she uses her like Wakandan accent, not Wakandan, Sokovian accent.
Yeah.
When she's angry and stuff. So I think it makes sense. She kind of
So
reverts to that, maybe.
right. Well, they're hiding from the Indoraptor in the museum,
Hmm.
and the thing I hate the most about this scene is they go up there and they're hiding up in the top floor,
Yeah.
and Owen looks at it, sniffing the ground, like smelling around the ground, and he turns the lights off.
Right.
It is clearly tracking them by scent. He witnesses it,
Yeah.
and then he makes it harder for himself to see, so he turns it off. So now all he did was give the Indoraptor a huge advantage.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Um,
definitely interesting that that happens.
it's ridiculous. Um, but then we missed on the Franklin and Zia escape.
Right, because Franklin, he got sort of caught while they were escaping the boat, and he pretends to be one of the crew somehow, and no one notices he
Because
was one of the crew.
nobody has
I guess
a
no one cared about him.
roster.
No one probably
Um,
really cared about that, about him coming on the trip, so they wouldn't register him like the others.
yeah,
But yeah, but they kind of disappeared until now, where they let Blue out. They sick Blue on some people, so that's the second time our
yeah.
heroes have sicked dinosaurs on people. This time, I'm
But at
definitely
least it
killing
was
them.
blue.
It was Blue.
At
That's fair.
least it was blue. Like in the first movie when she pulls the T Rex, it's stupid because it's not a character we've known.
Right.
At least this time they pull a character they know. But the thing is, Blue doesn't know Franklin and Zia.
Yeah.
So is it
Well,
smart they did
actually,
that? It knows
Blue
Zia a
did.
little bit.
Blue did see them helping with the surgery because Franklin was there holding on to Blue. Zia was the one doing it all. So I think Blue,
Right.
and I think Blue is smart enough at this point to see who has good intentions
Fair.
and bad intentions. So I
Fair.
think Blue has built enough empathy somehow, but that's an
Well,
unprecedented level of empathy for a dinosaur.
we we do need to bring up the. I think it's kind of badass when Franklin stabs Doctor Wu
Yeah, yeah,
with the trank. Uh, because I mean, it kind of felt like it was out of nowhere, but at the same time, I loved it because Franklin goes from being like really scared, really rattled about everything to like screw it, I'm gonna stab a man.
yeah, yeah. It's nice to see him be a little braver. Yeah. And then Doctor Wu gets carried away to come back in the sequel, probably.
Yeah, they
Threequel.
manage.
Yeah,
Everybody escapes the explosion.
yeah. Which looks
Um,
great. Blue jumping out of
yeah.
an explosion like a true hero.
So then we have the gang in the exhibit, and the Indoraptor like comes down on him and it stabs into Claire's leg.
Yeah.
But then I have two major problems with this scene. The first one is why did the Indoraptor decide to follow Maisie out of all people?
Instead of the two trapped ones. Yeah.
Yeah. And B, how did a 10-year-old girl
Outrun.
outrun a raptor?
Not just a raptor, an
An
Indoraptor.
Indoraptor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which it was confirmed in the first movie that Blue and them run about 40 miles an hour, 50 when hungry.
Yeah.
That was the numbers there.
Mm-hmm.
The Indoraptor has to be faster than that, and at the very least, it's not slower than that.
Yeah.
So if a raptor's going 40 miles an hour, a 10-year-old girl should not be able to outrun it.
Yeah. And then she also like ends up closing the dumbwaiter on it while it's running through the hallway. It's like her escape is very miraculous for sure, but it still keeps like tracking her throughout the house.
Yeah, and it gets worse as she gets to her room, she hides under a blanket.
And it decides to still keep. Why did she hide under the blanket? She
She
hears it
hides
on the
under a
roof.
blanket.
She could run back
Yeah,
down to them.
which I love
Uh,
that scene though
oh,
of
it
the
does look great. Oh yeah.
like the atmosphere of it like creeping into the bedroom.
I think they used
It
that in the
makes it look
trailer
really
too.
really scary, really like I like that scene how it did it. And
Yeah.
then obviously Owen walks up, he starts
Last
to try
minute
to fight
save.
it,
Yeah.
and then last minute Blue comes
Last minute
up
save.
after
Yep.
that as well as a lot. Like
Like
these
man,
movies can't stick the endings. Like
no.
this one was doing a lot better up until the end in my opinion, but
Mm-hmm.
it just they mess it up.
You
And
forgot. You forgot about the kiss. They kissed again.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
it makes no sense.
Claro and
It's
they're
not
a thing
like
again.
yeah, why even have them break up?
Yeah.
Would have been just as simple to be like, we knew you knew somebody that could help, and then her come up, and then she like be home with them, go home, and she'd be like, hey,
Yeah. It
can you help me with
literally
this?
changes nothing that they're apart.
Because that scene at the beginning means nothing.
It would also kind of build a little bit more tension in the middle of the movie
Yeah.
when he goes off on his own. They could have been like, "Hey, come back safe," instead of his line of
So
like, "Hey, just remember, you're the one who brought me here." Like,
no
it's
no no
funny
no no
that
no
that
no 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 no.
well,
His exact words
what were
are,
his
"You're
words?
the one that made me come,"
Then
and then he walks away.
he walks away. Yeah, it's a funny line, that's for sure. But
Um,
yeah,
but okay, so they have the roof chase scene, which I actually like that they foreshadowed her little path
they did.
at the
Yeah.
beginning, and that's the exact path they take.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but again, my biggest part with this is how did Claire get up there? She had a clearly visible, like very large wound.
And she found the gun and made it up to
She
the
finds the
roof.
gun,
Yeah.
gets up to the roof, and then the first instinct is let's point it at Owen.
Let's point it at Owen. I guess they
Owen
kind
didn't
of.
say pointed at me.
No.
She just pointed at. She could have pointed it off to like a car in the distance
I guess it
or
has to
something.
track onto a person, maybe? I don't know.
It still doesn't make a lot of
It's
sense.
it was a
Uh,
risk for sure.
but
But
I did forget to talk about that when Maisie learns that she's a clone, she does kind of have that like little panic attack,
yeah.
um, which you see it on screen for a second. But that's why I actually don't hate this twist, as it does give a reason why Lockwood and Hammond weren't getting along, why
Right.
those things broke down. It makes a lot of sense from a I don't want to say Lockwood's a villain because he's not, but it
No.
would give a sympathy to a person who
Just wanted his
did
daughter
something
back.
wrong. He just wanted his daughter back.
Right.
And it also opens up a bigger idea that if we can clone dinosaurs, why can't we clone people?
Yeah. But I
And it opens that thought process up, and there's so much foreshadowing that goes into it. The
mhm.
first time I watched it, none of the foreshadowing made any sense to me because I wasn't it was out of the blue to me. But when upon second watch, knowing that the twist was coming, all of that foreshadowing was really well done, and I give them really good props on that. And I don't hate this twist, and I don't hate the twist, and I don't hate the reasoning behind the twist either. So
I I don't know. I still can't get behind it and I don't know why. I think it's just an unnecessary thing to bring into the movies with human cloning. It just opens up a whole new door that didn't really need to be opened. I guess it works enough.
well, I think the reasoning behind it is to give it some like big like moral questioning
Yeah.
at the end of the movie. But we can get to we're about to hit the end of this movie here. So Eli's running out of the building
Oh well, I
and he
mean
gets
they do kill the Indoraptor.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, they kill
And
the
blue
Indoraptor.
stands over its impaled body like a
Yeah.
true hero again.
Which I actually I enjoy this a lot better than the first one. Again, I think that they flubbed it a little bit, but the fact that Owen, Claire, and Blue were the
All that
main
it
things
yeah.
that beat it, and they didn't
It's
have to bring in
better.
a random dinosaur
Mhm.
or an even more random dinosaur.
Yeah.
Um, I like that. I like the how they did the ending there. So, like I said, Eli's running out of the building. He has his piece of the end, or the he has a piece of the Indominus Rex with him,
Yeah.
and it gets crushed. He gets killed.
But
Hooray!
before that,
Yeah,
we get the problem I've had with this movie since I saw it.
right.
With the release of the dinosaurs, because they all end up together again in the lab. It turns out there's gas flooding the chambers.
Yes,
Claire opens up all the gates. There's a big red button that'll open the doors. The dinosaurs will now be in the mainland USA, off
yes.
doing whatever, definitely changing society for
Mm,
the foreseeable future, which the Dominion is going to show us in full force. Um,
yes.
you really shouldn't do that. That's a bad idea. Like, I
Well,
get the message of the movie. I get it. Is that like
Claire,
they're animals too, but at
you
what
have to
point?
realize Claire. She had her little thought process, but Claire didn't hit the button.
It's true, and I like
Claire
that.
decided, no,
She did
I'm
go
not
through
going to hit the
some
button.
character growth here, where she goes from fully
Yes,
like ready to defend them all until she finally sees reason. Like, no, sometimes you have to make different choices. It's not great
but
choices, but
this is where we have to delve into the psychology of a 10-year-old girl that just learned she was a
mm,
clone. In
yeah.
a course of a day, her grandfather was killed. She learns she's a clone, and she nearly gets murdered by several dinosaurs.
Then she lets him go.
But she also learns that she's the same genetic makeup as these dinosaurs because she's a clone.
Yeah,
She's
which
also only 10. So her hitting the button and saying, they're alive like me, definitely like hits to her characters.
It
She doesn't
does.
know what she is anymore,
Yeah.
and she doesn't want to be the only person that experiences what's happening here.
But she has
So
now
while
doomed
I
many people.
yes, I agree with that,
Hmm.
but you have to realize from her point of view that these are creatures that have been contained in this area their entire lives, the same way that she has been.
Hmm.
Because I doubt she got to leave the estate very often.
Yeah.
And that a lot of these creatures have been there, have been trapped in different places for a long time. And so while I think it's a dumb decision, I think from a 10-year-old's perspective, it's the only decision for her.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it does make sense. I just think the build up to this moment, the themes of the movie come crashing down, I think. Just at this point. Like
Right.
the whole clone thing is only really to set up this. The whole animal rights thing is to set up this. And I just don't think it works. I don't think this is a moment to have them open it up. I just there's a lot more going on here that than just letting them die or letting them go free and saving them.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are gonna die now. So it's like, yeah, we saved them, but at what cost? And I don't think the movie ever and it's shown
It,
that they seem to care about
it's
dinosaurs more than the humans there, even though they're evil humans.
yeah.
It's not dealt with very well here. It's not
Well,
given care.
I feel like Dominion's gonna have a little bit that it'll touch up on this one because
Hopefully.
obviously there are dinosaurs all over the place, and I
Yeah.
this movie also doesn't. I don't think it takes place immediately following.
No. It's
Uh,
going to be a time skip because now Maisie's actress is going to be 15 in the next one, so they'll probably age her up to
the
about that
actress is
point.
15, or the
The
character
actress
is
is
15.
15, so I imagine they would jump 5 years ahead. That's enough time for the
Right.
dinosaurs to repopulate, get around, the world to significantly change, and it would be
Uh,
about right for how long it's been since the first movie.
well, the thing is, I think this should have happened in the first one because, like I said, all those pterodactyls and pterodons got out. They were flying
They
all
were
over the
flying.
place.
Yeah.
You're expecting me to believe that not a single one of them escaped.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, even earlier at the beginning of the movie, the Mosasaurus got away as well,
Yeah.
which is going to be a big deal
Mhm.
as you see like, killing surfers and stuff. And
Yeah.
that had nothing to do with releasing these dinosaurs, which the majority of those dinosaurs are herbivores.
I
There
think
were there were one or two carnivores in the
yeah,
bunch, but most of them were herbivores.
right. But what I think this could have been handled better if they didn't let it be their choice. Because that just kind of goes against the message of like don't try and control nature. I think it just should have happened. The door should have just been open and they're like, "Uh-oh." And
Well,
then it
we
goes to Dominion. Sure, you might have lost some of the part for Maisie, but you could
you
easily
would
write write that
I
around
think
somewhat.
you would have lost a big thing from Maisie, and you would have lost an even bigger thing from Claire.
Probably,
We can
yeah.
let's get into the cast real quick. Shout out to Simon Fogg, the best boy grip of
The
this
best boy
movie.
grip. Yep, yep, yep.
Um, but then we get some of the cast. Iris, she's a smaller character.
Doesn't
Uh,
do much.
the only thing that I found weird about her is that she was just kind of okay
Locking
with
her
Eli
away.
throwing Maisie and locking her away.
Yeah,
She's
and then
like,
she
okay,
disappears. She doesn't
yeah. Then
get
she's
like
just gone.
a death from a dino. She's gone.
Yeah. Uh, Doctor Wu, he comes back. I like Doctor Wu a lot better in this one than
Mm,
the first one. I think he had learned from his. You clearly see growth from him because
yeah,
in the first one he was talking about how he's creating a monster. He knows he's creating a monster, but he even had the line where he's like, "You are usually the cat to their canary, but now you're the canary or whatever it was." And now he's basically saying, "No, we need to make sure that this thing
yeah,
has controllability and has empathy," which I think that's character growth, no matter how you want to put it.
definitely.
Um, you can take it away for your boy Ian
Ian Malcolm.
Malcolm real
Yeah,
quick.
He doesn't have much of a role. He shows up at the beginning and the ending, kind of giving us the theme of the movie, telling it to us like, "Oh, we tried to play God. Now we're seeing a world that we can't really control." It's like, yeah, yep, that's the theme.
Oh, I
That's
will
what he's
say
really here to
because
do.
we
Hmm.
we did forget Gerald Geraldine Chaplin. Is that her name?
Geraldine Chaplin. Yeah, that was the
Geraldine
actress
Chaplin
for
was the
Iris.
actress for Iris, and then obviously B.D. Wong for Wu
Jeff
and Jeff
Goldblum.
Goldblum.
Yeah,
Uh,
and yeah, Mr. Evasol. He's there. Toby Jones,
Mr. Ever, yeah,
classic villain, classic villain
his
actor.
I'd say villain actor because this villain he didn't make. You brought it up earlier. Why was he in such a rush for these
Yeah, he
dinosaurs?
seems to just be here to make the auction a plot, and it's a really bad
Yeah,
auction, mind you.
so
It's a
I think
mess.
that he was probably one of the worst characters in this movie.
Yeah, he's a
Um,
weird inclusion.
Benjamin Lockwood, I like his whole purpose of being here.
Yeah.
Um, I think it makes sense in a way to bring up bigger moral questions for the movie, as well as to give Eli a big like moment
Mm-hmm.
to solidify him as like a big villain. So, while yes, Lockwood himself is used as a plot device, basically, his character was kind of necessary because of that.
Yeah. And fun fact, he's played by James Cromwell, who was Callahan in Big Hero 6. So that's fun. Um, then you got
So
Wheatley.
then Wheatley,
We had all of our
Wheat
thoughts about Wheatley. There's not much
Wheatley's
more to
stupid.
say.
That's
He's
it.
really
Like,
dumb. He's a much worse version of a better villain in Lost World, which actually, at this point, I want to really quickly touch on how this movie almost completely copies Jurassic Park: The Lost World, and we'll have to touch on that movie sometime because the plot of that movie is going to capture dinosaurs. People get double crossed, thinking they're helping the dinosaurs, and then things go wrong, and then dinosaurs end up on the mainland. Literally, that's the
I've
plot of the second movie.
never seen the second one,
You'll
so
have to see
I
it
don't
then,
know.
because you'd be
Um,
surprised. Like, oh shoot, there's a lot of
but Ted
similarities.
Levine,
Yeah, he did a fine job.
he
He's
did a
good
decent job.
at playing jerks who are
Like,
stupid.
it was supposed to be like a stupid jerk
Yeah,
villain. I think it was supposed to be that way in the script.
it was
So he did a decent job there, and I do think he did better than the villain from the first movie. So,
definitely
uh,
yeah better than I don't remember his name. I
I
saw
can't
the movie
remember. It
last week and I don't remember his name.
doesn't matter. Eli, yeah, forgettable. That's what he was.
Yeah,
So Eli Mills. I think the setup for him being a villain and his like little villainous acts was actually fairly decent.
yeah,
Um,
nothing to write home
I
about. Bit confusing how he fits into the Lockwood family and what his
right
motivations are other than money.
money.
But
He wants money.
oh well.
Um, but his major thing is just if he would have been a little more patient with Doctor Wu and the Indoraptor, his plans probably work.
They would have worked. Yeah, he was very impatient. He wanted his money now. His rip-off money definitely didn't sell them for the right price.
Right.
I'm still on that. um,
So moving on to the newer members of the main cast,
mm-hmm.
Zia, which I thought she works as a character.
She works, but she gets sidelined heavily with
Oh yeah,
Franklin.
her and Franklin are definitely
They
very
disappear
important in the beginning of the
in the
movie.
first half, yeah, but then after they get to
Yeah,
Lockwood's estate, they're gone until the very end when they need them for the lab and to turn on the
yeah.
lights.
Um, so I think that that'll work. In the future because they do appear in Dominion,
Yeah,
I believe. So hopefully their characters get a little bit more, but I do enjoy both their characters as I think they have like this or she has like this badass like I'm a badass kind of notion to her
yeah,
because she wasn't going to stand down to almost anybody that was talking to her. And I also enjoy Franklin. He's a comedic relief. He's not as good as Lowry from the first movie because he's not Jake Johnson. but I think Justice Smith does okay.
Hmm.
I think he does good enough for me to enjoy his character. And then Zia was also played by Daniela Pineda.
Yeah. Um, I don't really know anything that she was in, but Justice Smith, he was in Detective Pikachu, which I like that movie quite a bit. So,
Oh yeah.
um, yeah. Then you get Maisie Lockwood, and a fun fact: her actress, this is her first movie, which is impressive because I think she did a much better job than Zach and Gray did acting wise.
Yeah.
I thought she did a great job, even though I don't like the human cloning aspect. I think she pulls it off.
Yes, I think it's pretty. Maisie's character is definitely going to be important moving forward.
Definitely. I wonder
She's
if they'll keep up with the idea of her being a clone, or if because of the backlash they'll just kind of ignore it.
they have to, right?
I don't know.
Because she's the reason the dinosaurs have escaped. It
Hmm.
at the end of the day, it does come down that she's the person that did this. I don't know if Owen and Claire are gonna take credit for it, so she doesn't get any backlash,
Hmm.
which might happen. But she is the reason that it's all happening, so she has
Yeah.
to have some reasoning moving forward. But she was played by Isabella Sermon.
Hmm.
And like you said, that was her first movie, and she hasn't been in a movie since,
Yeah. Until Dominion
um,
comes out. Yeah.
according to IMDb. So,
Yep. So that's
uh,
interesting. Good job
you want to
on her
touch on
part.
Owen a little bit, real quick?
Yeah. He's here again. He doesn't really
I think
change
he's
much.
better. I think him and Claire have loosened up a bit.
They
I think in
did.
the first one they were very, very
Restricted in their
uptight,
characters.
both of
Yeah.
them. And I think they both loosened up a bit
Yeah. They
with
got more
how they,
comedic parts to play,
yeah, how
but
they interact
he's still
with
kind
each
of
other
boring
and
though.
other people.
Yeah, he's still kind of a one note character though, and he doesn't really
Yeah,
change in here.
I agree.
But Claire
But
does.
obviously that's Chris Pratt.
Yeah,
So yeah, Claire Deering. Um, go ahead.
yeah. I think you've convinced me. I think Claire does a really good job in here, and she definitely, despite seeming like a big switch from the first movie, I think it was foreshadowed enough. And at
Yeah.
the end, when she doesn't press the button, I really like that. It's a good unexpected thing for her to do at that point. And you're like, yeah,
Yes.
okay, there you go. So
Yeah.
I'm curious to see where she goes next.
I don't know if she has a whole lot going because she'll probably still be a dinosaur rights activist. I'm assuming
Maybe.
because as long as there's not a bunch of carnivores killing a bunch of people, which there
There
probably
probably
are,
are, yeah.
but as far as the herbivores go, which I do want to throw out again, that the majority of those dinosaurs in that pit, there was only like one or two carnivores amongst them. Most of
Yeah,
them were the were the herbivores.
right.
So her choice was still made. Like we shouldn't we shouldn't bring these dinosaurs to the other people because that would cause problems.
It would. It
And
would
she
really tear apart the ecosystem, honestly.
for sure.
Introducing any creature to an ecosystem will throw it into shambles,
Uh,
but
yeah.
the movie probably will only just show like, oh yeah, they've integrated. Like,
And
don't know.
apart from their breakup and their random kiss at the end and them getting back together again, I think that their characters were better than the first movie. And as far as Claire goes, she was a lot better.
Yeah, for sure. So that covers all the actors. That covers the plot.
And then
Overall, what do you
uh,
think?
like I said, I gave it a 3.5. I
Mm,
like it better than the first one. Um, and it did. I will say it did take two watches for me to be like that because
yeah.
on my original watches, I would have said this one was way lower. And even on my review for the first one, I put hopefully this gets better in the sequel, and then I put like dot dot dot. Oh wait, like as a joke.
Yeah.
But honestly, I do think that I think the character writing is better. I think the opening is better, and I think that the overall plot makes more sense.
Okay.
even with its flaws.
Yeah. I think I'm just on the opposite end. I think the first movie, despite it not being as good of a story, it is a bit cleaner of a story. It gets through its plot with less plot holes. There are still significant issues in the first one. Don't get me wrong.
I
It's not great. But I think this one, despite it giving a really good sequel, I think this set up a really good premise. Um, I just think it's a mess getting to there. There's
Yeah,
so many plot holes and so many things I think are dumb in this movie. I just don't. I gave it two
agreed.
stars. Might be a bit low. I think there's some good parts. Claire is
Right.
better. Owen's a bit better. But yeah, I don't know.
Owen's better. Maisie's better than the two boys.
Yeah.
Zia and Franklin together are decent characters. It has better villains. Like
Mm,
I also think it ends better. If you mess up a beginning, that's one thing, but messing up an ending is another. And I think that the ending of Jurassic World 1 is atrocious. Like the fact that the Indominus Rex is taken out by a random T Rex, followed by randomly getting eaten by the Mosasaur, makes it ruins all like personal ties that Owen or Claire had to it. Where in this one, at least Owen, Claire, and Blue all were involved in the final battle and all together kind of took down the Indoraptor.
yeah. And I see that. I do think the ending's a bit better. Uh but I don't know. Overall, I don't know if I can get over some of this stuff. To
How
me,
old were you when the first when Jurassic World came out?
the first Jurassic World, I was 16 at the time. So I was into the hype of a new one coming out.
I wonder if there was like nostalgia for you.
There definitely
Because
was cuz I was a big fan of the movies, honestly.
right.
So maybe I think it's because I've seen the first 3 that I like this one a lot less than the first one because the first one gives me that nostalgia. Maybe I have nostalgia glasses on for it, but I remember that movie a little more fondly than this one, and I think that's because this one is just a not as good as The Lost World, which we will have to see at some
Oh,
point.
well, from what I understand about those two movies, that they didn't do so
They
hot.
didn't do so hot, no, but
But
Lost
you
World
know,
has some good stuff.
I know that I'm on a hill of my own right now. So that,
Yeah, I don't know.
but
We will
hey,
have to visit those 3 movies and see what you think
eventually,
afterwards, because
I've seen the
that's where I'm
first
coming
one. I
from.
just haven't seen two or three.
Right. But yeah, from where I'm coming from, I think that, and I've also read the book too, at least the
Yeah.
first Jurassic Park book. So I think I have a lot more background going into this. But I mean, like, it's interesting to hear how much you enjoyed parts of it. And I gotta say, I think maybe if I didn't have uh, more nostalgia for other stuff, I would like it more. But I don't know if I could move above two and a
The-
half at least for
yeah,
me.
I get it. A lot of people have the major problems with the her being a clone
Hmm.
and all that. I just think it's foreshadowed so well that
Hmm.
when I watched it a second time, I'm like, this is actually brilliant that they managed to pull off how much foreshadowing they did. Because every scene that she's in, up until that she's revealed to be a clone,
Yeah,
has a little bit of foreshadowing in it.
it does. It's not. It doesn't
And
really come out of left field so much, but I think it comes out of left field because you just don't think human
and
cloning is something they'd
yeah,
introduce.
I also think that it brings up the whole new question of morality and stuff like that. So
It does.
that's it. But hey, I enjoy the movie, and that at the end of the day, if I'm on my own, I'll enjoy a movie by myself. That's fine.
Yeah, and there you go. Yeah, we don't need to agree on any of the movies really.
Yeah,
But either way, I'm excited for the third one,
Yes. Hashtag bring back Jake Johnson.
He better
That's
be back in the next one.
please
Please, whoever does these, I don't remember. Warner
whoever
Brothers?
does the.
That's not Warner Brothers. Whatever.
I don't
Yeah.
know who it is because I've not seen it on any
Oh,
streaming
it's
sites.
Universal, which might be Disney now. I don't know.
Univer isn't that Nickelodeon?
No, I don't think so. Um, but
No, that's
yeah,
Paramount.
yeah.
Paramount,
Okay,
yeah.
Paramount. Yeah,
But Paramount doesn't make these because it doesn't matter.
yeah. So yeah, that's our thoughts on Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. Let us know what you think down in the comments below. Did you like it? Do you agree with me? Do you agree with Zach? Did you love it and you disagree with both of us, or did you hate it even more? Let us know. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to get some discussion going. And if you liked the podcast, give us a like. Subscribe to the channel for this and more content from Stupid Necessary. And
Coming soon.
yeah, coming soon. What are some upcoming things? Not just from the podcast. Do we want to tease some other things?
Put a deadline on Caleb.
No, we shouldn't do that. But we do have
Shouldn't put a
some
deadline on it. But we do have some. We have some gaming stuff.
gaming stuff
Um,
with the other two
hopefully,
members. Yeah.
yeah, with some of the other guys. Hopefully, we'll have some funny comedy skits
Yeah.
and maybe some more stuff. Uh, I'm hoping that with us being all included now, um, we can turn this channel into something great.
Yeah, I hope so. So if you're up for that, make sure you subscribe and come back next week when we cover Jurassic World Dominion. And the week after that, we'll be covering the State of Play, the Bethesda showcase and Xbox showcase, and the Summer Game Fest. So if you're into that, make sure you come back. Mark your calendars for 2 weeks from now, and we'll see you then, and hopefully on other episodes too. So, yeah, thanks for watching, guys.